Overseer's Log 7, Bloatfly Bonanza. Hello, Wastelanders. Kyle here. Thank you for rejoining me in a new episode of the Overseer's Log. As a reminder, this podcast is supplemental to our primary TTRPG actual play series titled Tales from Tomorrow. This is our little check-in when I get to touch base with all of you. I mentioned in previous episodes that I had a move upcoming, and that move happened a lot faster than expected. So I want to thank you for giving me about a week off in between game sessions. I think that was between session 5. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. That was between session 6 and 7. It's been a really hectic time, but I've got a really cool studio set up, and I've been doing so many YouTube shorts, posting to TikTok, posting to Instagram. I think in maybe the previous episode, I had told you all that we got signed up as a Bethesda brand ambassador. So I get these really cool, unique codes if people want to buy any Bethesda merch. The code at this exact time is BTales3, the number. And if that code doesn't work for you, look out for code BTales4. So that is B as in Bethesda, Tales, and then the number, either 3 or 4, respectively. I will continue to do a similar numbering scheme as time goes on. The codes, I think, get about 10 uses a piece, and they last for about a week or 2 at a time. So just expect that. And if you ever run into a code that is invalid and you need a new one, you just reach out to me on Discord, on YouTube, really anywhere. This episode, I guess I'll start off by saying, last night I was watching Mac Raven play some Fallout 4, and I had a really cool idea for some upcoming transportation to take place in our TTRPG. And today, when I opened up the map of the town of Hope in Dungeon Draft, I was dismayed, obliterated, terrified, horrified to see that I'd accidentally saved over it with the Red Rocket Station that had made an appearance in episode 6, 7, maybe even in 5. I don't think so, though. I think it was 6 and 7. That was a rookie mistake that I saved over top of it, but I was able to recover it from the backups folder. Thank goodness Dungeon Draft makes some of those. What a horrifying experience. I just wanted to say it out loud. I need to vent about it for just a minute. But I was terrified because the town of Hope is huge, and I took so much time to meticulously create all the rooms. And for those that have been like longtime followers of the show, the more recent version of the Town of Hope I did was already a remake that I had made it originally in the Pixelmator program for Mac OS, that is. And then I brought it into Dungeon Draft. And by brought it in, I mean, I took a picture of it, put the screenshot in Dungeon Draft, and then like copied it like I was, transposing off of something else. It took probably, I mean, I don't know if this is the correct number, but it felt like it probably took 8 to 12 hours to do that all in. And it was so worth doing the first time. But I was thinking today, oh my God, if I have to do it again, am I going to do it again? Will I remake the Town of Hope a third time? And I was thinking to myself, do I just tell my comrades, my friends that there's no longer going to be visual updates to Hope? Like, I would not like to do that. I hate that. I hate the idea of neglecting my friends' creativity or anything like that. But of course, when coupled with like a 12-hour challenge, a third redo, would I want to do it? So thankfully, I was able to recover it. I do not have to remake it, and I'm really excited to work on the town some more. But I just got to get that off of my chest and say, wow, what an almost nightmare that was. For a good 10 minutes, I was like, what am I doing with my life? How did I ruin this map? Anyway, the Town of Hope, again, really big, and I had ambitions to make it even bigger in the future. I gave it some growing room and space and all the rest. So again, good news in the recap is that's fine. I'll also tease, for those that know, we like to use the application Kenku, Kenku. That is how I play my music to my comrades in Discord and get it into our final mix on YouTube and Twitch. The Kenku app, I spent some time creating some Stream Deck is that the right word? Yeah, Stream Deck from Elgato, making some buttons for those. So I got some sound effects linked in, a little easier. And ultimately, I started divvying up Fallout 76 music into various themes. So specifically, I was taking Fallout 76 musical tracks that have come out over these years. They continue to release new tracks and add to it as they do different seasons to the game. And I started to group them by by vibe. You know, this sounds like, oh, here's Mac Raven and the Mothman cultists. Here's Sam, and he gets some patriotic music. And here's Jim, and he gets a little bit of techie sci-fi music. And, you know, I started to put things together for Rusty Dusty Bones and for bars and things like that. So really excited to be able to employ that in the future and just hopefully give our show an entirely new theme and feel, just maybe a little bit better of a soundtrack. I've always enjoyed those kind of ambient woodland soundtracks. There's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. But at the same time, I want to maybe give some songs with a little bit of gusto. Is that the word? A little bit of zhuzh and jazz, and get some energy in there, not just to be crickets and the sound of water, but actually some moving music that keeps people in the moment. So that's been my day today, working on that first, then realizing I may have deleted the Town of Hope, but recovered it. I just got to say a huge thank you to everybody that has been following along and participating. I know I've said this in every episode, and I'm going to keep saying it, but really every person out there who gives a thumbs up and leaves a comment underneath the YouTube videos, you're an absolute MVP for doing so. Because if that doesn't happen, YouTube just holds the episodes on the back burner. And I think it's just relation to how new my channel is. It's only 2 months old. I've heard that's a strong element in there, that there's YouTube kind of waits maybe 3 months, 4 months before a channel is considered mature enough that it boosts it out so much. But to everybody that's been doing the liking and commenting, that alone, those two acts just push us so much into the algorithm. And I'm always so excited. I got a tip. If you're starting out with YouTube anytime, in 2025 or beyond, really utilize your YouTube shorts. I would make this maybe crazy argument that your YouTube shorts, when you're starting a channel, are more important than your primary content for the channel. I want to balance that statement because it sounds a little bit crazy. But it is to say, keep in mind your bread and butter content. For me, that's the actual TTRPG we do every week. That's the most important thing I do. But the shorts are what actually gets attention and subscribers, not the bread and butter content. Now, that's not to say we're ever going to stop or have any intentions of stopping doing the TTRPG. That's my love. I don't have love for just doing YouTube shorts. I have no problem. They're fun to do on the side. But if that were all I was doing and there wasn't bread and butter content like the main TTRPG, well, I wouldn't be doing the shorts on their own. However, using those shorts to garner and gain attraction for the main episodes, that's where it's at. You really need to, I would recommend, you don't need, but I would strongly advise to use those shorts to the best of your ability because, YouTube gives great metrics on this. They even do these little cutesy recaps on your phone app where it kind of like runs you through some metrics for the week and kind of almost quizzes you on it in a gamified way. Like, what episode do you think did the best this week? And then it gives you the stats for it. It's always the shorts. The shorts get the most attention. They get the most subscribers. They get the most comments. And I'm cool with that for the time being. Like, ultimately, believe me, I'd like people to be really hooked into the primary, again, bread and butter content, the weekly 3-hour episodes. But you got to figure a lot more people are going to see a 15-second clip than a whole 3-hour episode. That just makes sense, right? I mean, a dozen more people have the time for 15 seconds than they do for 3 full hours. So just something to be mindful of, and just keep that in the back pocket in case you ever decide a YouTube channel is in your future. It's really, really cool. At least in 2025, we'll see where it goes. YouTube could throw the whole thing out the window in a little bit. That being said, I've also started retooling those shorts to appear on TikTok and Instagram. I'm a big Instagram guy. I like to be on there a lot. TikTok, much less, but TikTok gets a lot more views on those things than either YouTube or Instagram. Instagram's doing the worst, the lowest. Like it just seems to have the least reach. TikTok is getting somewhere like 1,000 approximately. Let's say 800 to 1,000 on most of my latest videos, views that is. And on YouTube, I will admit, I'm a little bit stuck. Some of the shorts have exceeded and gone into the thousands of viewers. I think 4,000 might be the biggest. But a lot of the time they're about 400. So it's doing about half or less than what TikTok is. It's sort of just a game of, can Kyle keep uploading them? In fact, looking at the clock, I need to get a new YouTube short created for today. I should do that right after I get this episode done. But I want to put this out as well. And it's already 4 p.m. Yikes. I realize I'm in an extra pickle. This episode might sound a bit different. I am so sorry if it does sound like an outlier. It's because the editing software I usually use to normalize the audio level is on my other computer, and it is not powered up right now or even connected. It is not plugged in. It's my more traditional gaming computer, and I am not using that. So bear with me. I apologize if it has any weirdness to it at all. It's hopefully just a weekly thing. Kick me in the butt so I get the computer plugged in next week. But I mean, with all the move and all that, I'm just so thankful I've got my primary workhorse computer set up. That other one is a little bit of a luxury. It's unfortunate that I can't get that program on my Mac anymore. I think it's only got a Windows copy that works, so... That's called Auphonic, by the way, for anyone that's interested. Back almost 10 years ago, I think I bought a $100 key for it. And it is just a great program for normalizing audio levels. They have a more advanced feature that you could pay for every month. But, I mean, maybe in the future I would consider that. If I start to really make some serious cash off of the YouTube ads and things like that, I'd certainly consider getting Auphonic back. There might even be better substitutes out there these days. I've loved them. It's such a simple program that you tweak the editor for how you want it to work and sound, and then you throw your episode in, and it raises all the audio up so it's nice and loud for people. This is something to keep in mind if you're a podcaster getting onto the scene. You want your audio episodes to be loud. Why is that? Well, people usually listen to podcasts while they're in a car or on public transit or taking a walk. And all of those things usually involve loud ambient sounds, whether it's the wind whipping past your car or whether you're walking along a roadway and there's loud trucks or buses or cars zipping past. It's just a reminder that if you're making audio content, you probably want your LUF. I think it's called your LUF, your LUF. I think you want that to be higher, sort of your audio level. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm not an expert as much as it might sound. I understand how to work the tools, but there are specifics. There are, let's say, academic specifics that I'm a little unsure about. But anyway, just something to keep in mind there too. If you're going to make audio for on the go, or you think people will be listening to it on the go, make it loud. You don't want them to have to turn your show off because it's just too quiet. And that might be the risk of this episode this week, everyone. So if you're having a hard time hearing it, just know it's something I will try to remedy within the next week. And there's even a possibility if this one's really bad, I might try and re-upload it later. I am trying to keep the YouTube in a nice place with a good pacing to the episode uploads. I have sort of ceased in the meantime to upload just the audio-only version of some of the episodes in the past, and I think that's okay. I've decided that, for what it's worth, on YouTube, people are just going to get the full audio-video episodes, and then they can just turn it into audio-only mode if they want on their phone, like YouTube Music or something like that. They can make that choice for themselves. Hopefully that doesn't bother anyone out there. If it does, hey, it's up on Spotify and Apple and all the rest. You can just go listen there. And also still publishing the Substack posts. So look out for that one as well. We do that at tftfallout.com. You can find them really easily. That's Tales for Tomorrow is the TFT. It's just a reminder for anyone tuning in now. Last week, for a brief recap of this episode, and then I'm going to probably make this one a quick short one today. Last week, we did not have our friend Dark Knight in there, so we didn't have Jim in the game. That worked out fine. We just didn't have Jim be part of the caravan going to meet our players at the Red Rocket Station. That worked out, again, perfectly okay. The caravan came down. It was, Rusty and Jim. Sorry, not Jim. It's Rusty, Lena, Tom, and maybe they had some helpers, some guards and things. And they had the Brahmin with them. What was interesting is I wanted to implement a semi-random encounter. And so I used one of the features in Alchemy where I rolled for random encounters. I knew I wanted one. And I rolled until I got something about how a trader had like a swarm chasing him or something to that effect. And so I just decided to spitball that idea to keep running with it. I made it so there were a bunch of bloatflies chasing him. I think the guy's name was Chuck. I hope I'm getting that right off the top of my head here. But old Chuck was running that way, and he wound up being a really amenable sort of person that they could work with. And he wound up helping them with the APC, the Armored Personnel Carrier. In the previous episode, they had tried to get it started, and they couldn't. But Chuck was able to give them the generic know-how that the thing was out of juice. He had a pretty well run down fusion core with him, so it wasn't enough to get the whole thing running. He actually only had enough power to divert to one weapon at a time, and that was awesome because Mac Raven, I believe, took the helm with the main cannon on there and was just blasting those critters away, the bloatflies. I had them come in swarms. I will say, this is a note for myself, that my players are about ready for a level up. It's about the time they get back to Hope. I think they'll probably be reaching level 8, which is a really nice spot for them to be, I think. I also have this idea, if they're listening in, I mean, this is kind of okay if they hear this anyway, but maybe plug your ears or skip ahead 30 seconds to any of my players. I have a thought that we're going to maybe implement some river travel. They're right on the coast. Well, river coast. They're right on the river coast. The Ohio River's right there. That's sort of the purpose of the Town of Hope. Or, I mean, it's an advantage of the Town of Hope. They didn't have a dock notably set up there before. And maybe you can gather this is why I was opening up the map to poke around in there. I want to start adding that in. I'll probably give them some sort of retrieval quest to go and find a semi-working boat that they might be able to restore, recover, and bring up to Hope. Maybe the town can fix up this dock. And I think it might be Rusty's idea. He might be the idea guy that brings this in. Because whenever he gets back up to town with the crew, that gives them some interesting things to work together. Like, him being in Hope and seeing the area and all the rest might be able to give them some guidance and insight to how to make things better. And I'm not sure if Rusty's going to want to move to Hope. That's something maybe the players can decide upon and maybe roll upon with some charisma, if that's even what they want to do. But also I'll point out, at the very end of this last episode, they had gone down to the West Virginia lumber mill, or I said down to, it was sort of just a straight shot to the west, just up the road effectively. The West Virginia lumber mill in Fallout 76 sits right on the Ohio River coast as well, so they have maybe some options to be shipping lumber up and down that path. Maybe even it's the raiders there who could be, dang, that's an idea. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to shove too much burden on these free radicals at the West Virginia lumber mill, but they might be a peoples to help them out with a boat. I think it would certainly be of interest to those raiders who are already building cars and such. There's raiders down at the Meyerlurk. Oh, I forget what it's called. Ohio River Adventures, maybe? Let's look it up. Ohio River Adventures, Fallout 76. I think this is what it's called. Yes, I'm correct. That is what I'm thinking of. Yep. So if you look at it in the Fallout 76 map, right next to the Nuka-Cola plant, there is the Ohio River Adventures. It's sort of the dock on the map already. That might be an interesting way for them to ship things. I mentioned to my crew before that Appalachia was already about to rebuild railroads, and it just works out in my favor that it's about at the Nuka-Cola plant where I was thinking they could sort of ship off. Actually, one of the railroads crosses over at the Poseidon Energy plant, and yeah, if you go look at that map, the rail line right there is very, very close. So maybe they could make something to unload and ship it up the river. That could be really cool. It has me thinking of how we could do some adversaries in the water and all that kind of thing, just to give them some a little more fun, a little more hectic nature of shipping. There's a little bit of a risk to it. I don't know. I'm all about it. I really am excited. I think I'd already talked to them. I like specifically remember talking with Skylar about the power plants, maybe turning those back on, that might be like a big mission on its own, is for them to go in there, to power it up, to really bring energy back to Appalachia.